The flag bearer of freedom of speech has asked India to ban Russian media, specifically Russia Today. Now, the US believes that Russia Today is spreading propaganda and is actually a threat to US democracy. Now, isn't it ironic and funny at the same time that the US has not only banned Russia Today but has also gotten it banned in Western Europe and is now asking India to do the same? When the US was actually built on the foundation of freedom of speech and for the longest time has been the only country that has followed up on that idea. But apparently, it is only freedom of speech when the US allows it and spreads propaganda through it. But when it comes to Russia, it is actually a propaganda machine. In this video, we are going to talk about the hypocrisy of the US. We are also going to discuss a couple of examples from the past. And then we are going to talk about India's response to US request. So as mentioned earlier, RT or Russia Today has been banned from the US as well as its Western European allies. And not only that, but RT has also been banned from social media platforms including YouTube, Instagram and Facebook. The only major social media platform that it is still working on is X, and thanks to Elon Musk for that. Had Elon not bought Twitter, RT would have already been banned on Twitter as well. And even Elon Musk was given warnings specifically by the EU regarding Russian media. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. So obviously these are double standards by the US because on one hand, the US vouches for freedom of speech, and on the other hand, it is banning dissenting opinion, not only in the US, but its Western allies as well. And what? All in the name of propaganda? Is the US not spreading any kind of propaganda? Is its Western allies not spreading any kind of anti-Russian propaganda or pro-Western propaganda? Are the state-owned media agencies, news media agencies, including Voice of America in the US and BBC in the UK, are they not spreading any form of propaganda? Are they not promoting the interest of their governments? Or does the West think that it walks on water so much so that whatever it is saying is the truth and whatever it is saying should be believed by people? Should the world blindly follow the West? That is not the case. And the truth is that every country runs on propaganda, be it the US, UK, China, Russia, India, you name it. There is not one country in the world that is free from propaganda. Propaganda is everywhere, and specifically when it comes to state-owned media agencies. Because when a news media agency is funded by the government, obviously it is not going to go against the government. It is going to talk good about the government and bad about the adversaries of the government of that country. But should a country like the US ban dissenting opinions, ban Russian media or Russia Today to be specific? Well, the simple answer is they should not ban because, US was established on the foundation of freedom of speech. Well, unless the dissenting opinion is actually causing any kind of physical violence, any kind of extreme physical harm. Obviously, that is a given reason, but that is also an exception. So, should the people not listen to the other side of the story? Should the people not listen to dissenting opinions? Well, certainly that is not what the government wants. The government wants people to be uneducated, to be uninformed on important issues. And the thing about state-owned media agencies is that you already know that these media agencies, they're not going to go against their government. So you already watch the news that is being presented by these state-owned media agencies with that particular thing in mind. You already know that there is going to be a bias that is going to be presented to you. So you have to keep that in mind. Well, if you're a regular news watcher, if you watch news on a regular basis, mainstream media specifically, you know that this particular news outlet is being funded by this particular organization or a government agency. So you know what you're getting into, what you're being fed, right? At least that is what you should know. If you don't, you have the internet. There's plenty of information on the internet which will tell you which media outlet is being funded by who. And people are being brainwashed by the mainstream media, left and right. So some sort of propaganda is being fed to every single one of us every single day. And this is why it is even more important to listen to dissenting opinions so that people can form a balanced opinion. And this is why the internet is a great equalizer. Even though plenty of propaganda is already being spread across the internet, but you can always listen to the other side of the story. Whatever you are being fed, you have the other side of the story being presented to you on the internet as well, unlike the pre-internet era. And talking about the pre-internet era, let us go back and talk about this one specific example, Pravda, which was a Soviet media outlet. It was believed that Pravda during the Cold War was spreading anti-US propaganda, pro-Russia, pro-Soviet Union propaganda in the US. However, that was not banned in the US. The US did not ban Pravda despite knowing that Pravda was actually spreading propaganda. So what happened over there? What happened? Was the US more pro-freedom of speech at that point of time? Has the US gotten less and less tolerant of dissenting opinions? And the US was doing its part to counterbalance the propaganda that was being fed by Pravda and the Soviet media agencies in general at that point of time during the Cold War era. The situation today is different. Free speech is being curtailed in the US, specifically when it comes to social media platforms. Now, you may be thinking that these social media platforms, for the most part, they are privately funded agencies. However, when you look at this particular letter that was just released a few weeks ago by Mark Zuckerberg actually mentioned that the US government was pressurizing Meta at that point of time to remove COVID-19 related memes and jokes and other form of content from its platforms. And this is not just limited to Meta, but Twitter and YouTube as well, which means that the US government has a role to play in curtailing free speech across social media platforms. Coming back to Elon Musk, ever since he bought Twitter, renamed it to X, he has been under the radar not only of the US government but the European Union as well, specifically for allowing misinformation and disinformation on X. On the Russian media ban specifically, Elon Musk earlier in 2022 said that Starlink was not going to ban any form of Russian news sources unless at gunpoint. And even after that, the European Union actually warned Elon Musk after it found that X had the highest rate of Russian disinformation on its platform. Now, obviously, X was going to have largest or the highest rate of Russian media or Russian news on the platform because no other platform was allowing it, propaganda or not. It was going to be on the platform regardless of whatever propaganda that was being spread on the platform. And it is not like the US propaganda was any less of it on the platform. The whole point of the platform X, according to Elon Musk, is that there is going to be no restrictions on the freedom of speech, obviously unless there is an actual threat to anyone or anything. So the whole point of the platform was to allow dissenting opinions to exist on the platform. And finally, talking about India's response to the US, India in response to the US's request said that the US request is actually irrelevant to us. And it makes sense for India because India is not involved in the war. India is taking neither sides. India is not with the West nor with the Russian Federation at this point of time in the war. Secondly, India has had good ties with Russia for decades now. And Russia stood, specifically Soviet Union, stood with India when the US did not. And even India did not comply to the request of the US when it came to sanctions. India did not sanction Russia in any way, or nor did it stop trading with Russia. So why now? It doesn't make sense for India. And thirdly, and this is more sort of a personal opinion over here, most Indians, they do not watch Russia Today. Indians are not much concerned with what is going on in Russia or with Russia or the Russia-Ukraine war because it does not concern us directly. Indians are more interested in watching daily, national as well as regional political news. They are more interested in the drama that takes place every single day in Indian politics. And more so, if we talk about India being interested in other countries' politics, we could say that India would be more interested in its neighbors' politics, specifically Pakistan, Bangladesh, or China for that matter. So it's rather pointless for India to ban Russia Today at this point of time. It has nothing to do with India. And why should India do that? Why should India spoil its relations with Russia? India is not taking any sides in the war. With that being said, what do you think about this? Do you think that Russian media should be banned by the West? And also, what do you think about India's decision of not banning Russia Today? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you found this video valuable, please share this video with your friends and family. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching this video and have a great day.